The scientist checks his watch, 7:42 in the morning. Tehran traffic crawls around him, a river of metal and exhaust fumes. His driver navigates the Peugeot through the morning rush on Gol Nabi Street in North Tehran. January 11th, 2012. A Wednesday like any other. The scientist sits in the passenger seat, thinking about the day ahead. Centrifuges, enrichment cascades, technical problems that need solving. His wife beside him in the back seat. They're dropping her at her office before he continues to Natanz. What he doesn't see is the motorcycle keeping pace 2 cars back. The rider wears a helmet with the visor down. His passenger sits behind him, casual, relaxed. Just 2 men on a bike in Tehran traffic. Nothing unusual. Motorcycles weave through these streets by the thousands every morning. This is how people move in a city of 8 million. The bike accelerates slightly, closes the gap. The scientist's name is Mostafa Ahmadi Roshan, 32 years old, deputy director of the Natanz Uranium Enrichment Facility, one of Iran's brightest minds in nuclear metallurgy. He specializes in making centrifuges spin faster, last longer, enrich uranium more efficiently. His work is pushing Iran closer to weapons-grade material. The Americans know his name. The Israelis know his name. They know what he does in those underground halls at Natanz. What Roshan doesn't know is that he's been marked for death for 6 months. The motorcycle pulls alongside the Peugeot. Rush hour traffic forces everything to slow. Cars bumper to bumper, horns blaring, the usual chaos of Tehran mornings. The passenger on the motorcycle reaches out. His hand extends toward the Peugeot. Something silver flashes in the gray morning light. A magnetic device, shaped like a thick dinner plate. It clamps onto the driver's side door with a solid click. The motorcycle accelerates away. Roshan doesn't hear the click over the traffic noise. His driver doesn't feel it through the door. The device clings to the metal, invisible to them, measuring time in seconds now. The motorcycle weaves through traffic, putting distance between itself and the Peugeot, 30 meters, 50, 70. The explosion tears through the morning, quiet like fabric ripping. Fire erupts from the driver's side of the Peugeot. The blast is shaped, directed inward. Military-grade precision. The driver dies instantly, his body shredded by the focused explosion. Roshan takes the full force of it. Metal fragments. Burning chemicals. Overpressure that ruptures organs. His wife in the back seat survives, injured but alive, the blast directed away from her position. The car lurches to a stop, smoke pouring from windows. Other cars scatter, pedestrians scream. The motorcycle is already gone, disappeared into Tehran's maze of streets. This is the 4th time in 2 years. 4 Iranian nuclear scientists, 4 precise assassinations, all in Tehran, all using variations of the same method, magnetic. Bombs attached to cars by motorcycle teams in rush hour traffic. The pattern is unmistakable. Someone is systematically eliminating Iran's nuclear program, one scientist at a time, and they're doing it in broad daylight in one of the most surveillance-heavy cities in the Middle East. The question that obsesses intelligence analysts on 3 continents is simple. How? Rewind to November 29th, 2010, 2 years before Roshan's death. 2 separate attacks, executed simultaneously in the different parts of Tehran. The first target is Majid Shahriari, nuclear physicist, specialist in neutron transport. He's being driven to work at Shahid Beheshti University. His wife sits beside him. Morning traffic on Artesh Highway. A motorcycle pulls alongside. The passenger reaches out. A magnetic bomb clamps onto the door. The explosion kills Shahriari instantly. 17 minutes later, across the city, a second attack unfolds. Same method, same morning. The target is Feridun Abbasi, nuclear scientist, future head of Iran's atomic energy organization. But Abbasi sees the motorcyclist approaching. He sees the hand reaching out. In the split second before the device attaches, he understands. He throws open his door and jumps from the moving car. His wife follows. They hit the pavement rolling as the bomb detonates. Both survive with injuries. The car is destroyed. 2 operations, 2 targets, same morning, same method. Synchronized across Tehran's traffic grid. The message is clear. We can reach you anywhere. We can reach you anytime. We know where you live. We know where you work. We know the routes you take. Iranian authorities lock down the city. They flood the streets with security forces. They analyze the bomb fragments, military-grade plastic explosive, magnetic housing, remote detonation via radio frequency, professional work, not the crude devices of terrorist cells. This is state-level tradecraft. The finger points immediately toward Israel, toward Mossad, but proving it is impossible. The motorcycle riders vanish like smoke. No witnesses who saw faces. No cameras that caught clear images. No physical evidence that leads anywhere. What Iranian security doesn't know is how many people it took to make this happen. The answer would terrify them. Not 2 riders, not 4, but dozens of operatives, a network built over years. Sleeper agents, surveillance teams, logistics coordinators, safe houses, communications specialists, all invisible, all embedded in Tehran's fabric. Some of them might be Iranian citizens. Some might be immigrants from neighboring countries. Others could be false flag operatives, people everyone assumes are someone else entirely. Intelligence work is like building a cathedral. You start with the foundation, you place stones one at a time. It takes years, it takes patience. And when it's finished, when the operation finally executes, it looks effortless. A motorcycle, a bomb, 30 seconds. But those 30 seconds rest on thousands of hours of surveillance, planning, rehearsal, and preparation. Before we continue, here's a question. Drop your answer in the comments. When a state assassinates scientists on foreign soil to stop a nuclear program, is that precision counter-proliferation? Or does it cross a line that undermines international law? No right answer. Just curious what you think. The story begins much earlier. Begin in 2006. Iran is accelerating its nuclear program. President Ahmadinejad is defiant on the world stage. The country is installing thousands of centrifuges at Natanz. Underground facilities at Fordow are being expanded. The International Atomic Energy Agency is raising alarms. Inspectors are being blocked from sites. Evidence suggests Iran is moving toward weapons capability. The Americans impose sanctions. The Europeans negotiate. The Israelis watch with growing alarm. Israel's calculation is existential. Iran's leaders have called for Israel's destruction. If Tehran acquires nuclear weapons, the regional balance collapses. The margin for error disappears. Israeli military planners begin developing options. They look at airstrikes. The distances are enormous. The targets are hardened and buried. Success is uncertain. Then they look at other methods. Sabotage, cyber attacks, targeted killings. The advantage of these approaches is deniability. A bombing raid announces itself. Everyone knows who did it. But a scientist who dies in a car accident, a centrifuge facility that suddenly has technical problems, a computer virus that corrupts control systems, these create doubt, uncertainty. They achieve effects without triggering open war. But first, they need intelligence. They need to know who matters. They need to know where these people live, where they work, what routes they take, what their schedules look like, who protects them. This requires surveillance, deep, patient, long-term surveillance. The operation has a name, not publicly known, not written down anywhere accessible, but internally, among the people who plan these things, there's a designation, a project code, the kind of bureaucratic label that makes mass murder sound like paperwork. Building the target list takes months. Israeli intelligence combs through every available source. They hack Iranian university databases. They monitor scientific publications. They track which researchers attend, which conferences abroad. They identify who's working on sensitive projects, metallurgists, physicists, engineers specializing in trigger mechanisms, specialists in uranium enrichment. Each name goes on the list. Each name gets a threat assessment. Priority 1, Priority 2, Priority 3. Some scientists are protected. They live on military bases. They travel with armed guards. They're too hard to reach. Others are more exposed. They live in civilian neighborhoods. They drive their own cars or use minimal security. These names rise to the top. The surveillance phase begins. Teams need to be inserted into Iran. This is not simple. Iran's intelligence services are sophisticated. They're paranoid. They assume Western intelligence agencies are targeting them. They watch airports. They monitor foreigners. They track anyone suspicious. So, the operatives who slip into Tehran can't look like spies. They need to look like they belong. Some arrive as businessmen, others as students. Some might be Iranian expatriates returning home. Others might hold passports from neutral countries, Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, nations where travel to Iran raises no flags. They arrive separately. They never meet in groups. They communicate through dead drops and encrypted channels. They become part of the city's background noise. One operative might run a small import business, just enough commercial activity to justify his presence. He pays his taxes, he makes legitimate deals, he becomes known in his neighborhood. Unremarkable, forgettable. What his neighbors don't know is that his real work happens in the 2 hours before dawn. Surveillance photographs uploaded through secure channels. License plate numbers recorded. Route timings documented. Another operative works as a taxi driver. Perfect cover. He can drive anywhere without suspicion. He can park and wait without drawing attention. He can follow targets through traffic. Over months, he maps the scientists' movement patterns, where they go, when they go, which streets they prefer, where they stop for coffee, where they buy groceries. Every detail feeds into the operational planning. What the scientists don't know is that invisible eyes are watching them constantly. The surveillance reveals patterns. Mostafa Ahmadi Roshan leaves his home in eastern Tehran every morning between 7:30 and 7:45. He's driven by the same driver. His route to Natanz varies, but usually follows 3 or 4 main arteries. He stops to drop his wife at work. There's a predictable window where his car is stuck in morning traffic. Vulnerable, exposed, moving slowly enough for a motorcycle to pull alongside. Other scientists show different patterns. Majid Shahriari takes Artesh Highway to the university. Fereydun Abbasi uses a different route. Dariush Rezayanejad walks from his home to nearby destinations sometimes. Each pattern gets documented, each weakness gets noted. The surveillance teams are looking for the moment of maximum vulnerability, the moment where protection is lowest and success probability is highest. Meanwhile, other preparations are happening in parallel. The devices need to be built, not in Iran, too risky. The components are manufactured elsewhere, Israel, Europe, locations that remain classified. The magnetic bombs are engineering marvels, compact, powerful, shaped charges that focus blast energy inward. They need to be strong enough to kill the target, but precise enough to minimize collateral damage. The goal isn't terror, it's elimination. Surgical removal of specific individuals. The devices get smuggled into Iran through various routes. Exactly how remains unclear. Diplomatic pouches are one possibility. Commercial shipping with false manifests is another. The border with Iraqi Kurdistan offers opportunities. So does the coastline along the Persian Gulf. Once inside Iran, the bombs move through a network of safe houses. Each handler knows only their piece of the chain. Compartmentalization protects the operation. If one person is caught, they can't reveal what they don't know. The motorcycle teams are recruited separately. These aren't necessarily Mossad officers. They might be local assets, Iranian dissidents who oppose the regime, members of ethnic minorities with grievances, MEK militants, people who have their own reasons to participate. They're trained abroad, how to approach a vehicle, how to attach the device, how to escape through traffic, how to dispose of evidence, how to disappear afterward. What makes this method brilliant is its simplicity. No complex infiltrations, no breaking into facilities, no firefights, just morning traffic, a motorcycle, 2 men, 30 seconds, and it's over. The first successful assassination happens on January 12, 2010. The target is Mossad al-Mohammadi, particle physicist, professor at Tehran University. He's walking to his car early in the morning. It's parked outside his home in northern Tehran. What he doesn't see is the motorcycle that passed by 3 minutes earlier. What he doesn't know is that a bomb is hidden near his car, remotely detonated. Waiting. He approaches his vehicle. His hand reaches for the door. The explosion tears through the quiet residential street. Al-Mohammadi dies instantly. Windows shatter in nearby buildings. Neighbors rush out, confused, terrified. The blast is powerful but focused. The bomber knew exactly where to place the device. knew exactly when Ahmadi would be there. Iran immediately blames Israel and the United States, but they can't prove it. There's no evidence trail, no fingerprints on the fragments, no witnesses who saw anything useful. The bomber was gone before the explosion. The device was placed when the street was empty. Professional, clean, untraceable. Then come the double attacks in November. Shahriari dead. Abbasi barely surviving. The program is clear now. Iran's nuclear scientists are being hunted, not randomly, systematically, with precision that suggests excellent intelligence and careful planning. Iranian security goes into overdrive. They assign bodyguards to key scientists. They vary routes. They install surveillance cameras on streets near scientists' homes. They flood neighborhoods with plainclothes officers. They interrogate anyone suspicious, but the attacks continue. July 23, 2011. Dariush Rezaianejad is shot in the chest outside his home. He's standing near his car. A motorcycle pulls up. The passenger draws a pistol. 2 shots, center mass. The bike speeds. Away. Reza Ainejad bleeds out on the street. His wife and young daughter are there. Witnesses traumatized, unable to provide useful descriptions, helmet visors, generic clothing, a motorcycle that looks like 10,000 others in Tehran. What Iranian investigators don't understand is how the killers always seem to know exactly where to be and when, how they always appear at moments of vulnerability, how they always escape so cleanly. The answer is that they're not working alone. They're the tip of a spear, the visible part of an operation that extends much deeper. Every attack requires reconnaissance. Someone watches the target for weeks beforehand, documents their patterns, identifies the best moment. Someone plans the escape route. Someone arranges safe houses for the attack team to disappear into. Someone provides false documents if needed. Someone monitors police frequencies during the attack to detect response times. Someone else is ready to extract the team if things go wrong. It's a machine, a system, and it's been operating inside Iran for years without Iranian security ever finding its core. The scientists start to feel it, the fear. Some request transfers away from sensitive projects. Others ask for increased security. A few leave Iran entirely, claiming family emergencies or academic opportunities abroad. The program faces a morale crisis. Who wants to work on nuclear centrifuges when it might make you a target? When motorcycles and traffic become objects of terror? But Iran's program is too important to stop. The country has invested billions. The leadership is committed, so new scientists fill the positions. Ambitious men who believe the security will protect them. Men who think lightning won't strike twice in the same place. Men who don't yet understand that they're not dealing with random terrorists, but with an intelligence service that has unlimited patience and long memory. Mostafa Ahmadi Roshan is one of these men. He knows the risks. He knows what happened to Shahriari and Rezaianejad, but he's young, talented, devoted to his work. He believes in Iran's right to nuclear technology. He believes in his own importance, and perhaps, like many men facing distant threats, he believes it won't happen to him. He's wrong. The surveillance on Roshan begins 8 months before his death. Every morning, watchers note his departure time. Every route gets mapped. The surveillance team identifies the optimal location. Goal Nabi Street. Heavy traffic. Multiple escape routes. Good sight lines for spotters. They rehearse the approach a dozen times with a substitute vehicle. They time everything. How long from contact to detonation. How far the motorcycle needs to be for safety. Where police stations are located. Where cameras might be positioned. They identify his driver. They learn the man's schedule. They note that Roshan sometimes brings his wife to work. This complicates things. The bomb needs to be placed on the driver's side to minimize risk to her. The attackers don't want to kill wives, not because of morality particularly, but because killing civilians creates international pressure. The operation needs to maintain a veneer of precision, targeted killing of military assets, not terrorism. The magnetic bomb is prepared. The motorcycle team receives final instructions. The date is set, January 11th, a Wednesday. The choice of date seems random, but it's not. Intelligence indicates Roshan will be at Natanz the rest of the week. If they miss this window, they wait weeks for another opportunity. The operation has been planned too long. The resources committed too deeply. The team is ready. What Roshan doesn't know, as he kisses his wife goodbye that Wednesday morning, is that this is his last day alive. The surveillance network activates at 6:15 that morning. The first watcher positions himself at a tea shop 3 blocks from Roshan's apartment. He orders breakfast. Sits near the window. His phone rests on the table. Just another man scrolling through messages. But the phone is sending coded signals. Target location confirmed. No unusual security presence. Pattern appears normal. A second watcher sits in a parked car 2 streets over. Engine off, newspaper open. To any passing patrol, he's waiting for someone. Maybe a wife finishing shopping, maybe a business appointment. He's actually watching the street that leads from Roshan's building to the main road. His job is simple. Confirm the vehicle, confirm the direction, send the alert. The motorcycle team wakes up in a safe house in northern Tehran. They've been there 3 days, isolated, preparing, going over the plan again and again until every movement is muscle memory. The rider is Iranian, born in Tehran. He knows these streets like his own heartbeat. The passenger is different. His accent is carefully neutral, his background carefully obscured. He might be Israeli. He might be Iranian opposition. He might be something else entirely. The operation runs on compartmentalization. The rider doesn't ask questions. The passenger doesn't volunteer information. They eat a light breakfast. No conversation. The bomb sits in a padded case in the corner, innocuous looking, about the size of a large laptop, heavy for its size. The passenger checks it one final time. The magnetic surface, the arming mechanism, the remote trigger, everything functional, everything ready. They dress in ordinary clothes, jeans, jackets, nothing memorable. The helmets are the most important part, visors that hide faces, common models, thousands like them in Tehran. 7:32. The watcher near Roshan's building sends the signal. Target mobile. Peugeot sedan, gray, license plate confirmed. Driver and passenger. Woman in back seat. Route heading toward Gol-Nabi Street as predicted. The motorcycle team moves. They're positioned 4 blocks from the intercept point. Close enough to reach quickly. Far enough to avoid early detection. The rider starts the engine. It purrs smoothly, well maintained. Nothing that would draw mechanical attention. They pull into traffic, just another motorcycle in the morning chaos. What Roshan sees as he rides through Tehran is ordinary life. Street vendors setting up stalls, shopkeepers rolling up metal shutters, students hurrying to universities, office workers clutching paper cups of tea. The city is waking up. His city. He's lived here his whole life. These streets are familiar, comfortable, safe. What he doesn't see is the network closing around him. A third watcher sits at a bus stop near the intercept point. She's dressed like an office worker, headscarf, conservative clothing, handbag on her lap. She watches traffic flow. Her job is critical. She needs to confirm no police presence near the strike zone, no unexpected military vehicles, no surveillance that could compromise the escape. She sends a message, clear, proceed. The Peugeot moves through traffic, stop, and go. The driver is experienced. He knows how to navigate Tehran's morning gridlock. Roshan checks his phone. Emails from Natanz, technical reports, enrichment efficiency numbers. His mind is already at work, already solving problems, already thinking about centrifuges spinning in underground chambers. Behind him, 3 cars back, the motorcycle weaves through traffic. Patient, controlled, not rushing, not drawing attention. The passenger's hand rests on the case between his legs. Inside the case, the bomb waits. 3 kilograms of explosive shaped into a directional charge, powerful enough to destroy the target, precise enough to focus the blast. The mathematics of murder calculated down to the millimeter. 7:39. The traffic thickens. Gol-Nabi Street is jammed. Cars nose to tail, honking, frustrated drivers. The usual morning nightmare. But for the operation, this is perfect. Slow-moving traffic means the motorcycle can match pace, means the target can't suddenly accelerate away, means the passenger has time to complete the attachment. The motorcycle advances. 2 cars behind now. The rider's hands are steady on the handlebars. He's done this before, not here, not this target, but somewhere. Somehow. He knows how to kill from a motorcycle. The passenger breathes slowly, calming his heart rate. In training, they taught him that adrenaline is the enemy. It makes you rush, makes you sloppy. Breathe, focus, execute, one car back. The Peugeot is directly ahead now. The passenger can see into the vehicle. Roshan in the front passenger seat. Profile visible. He's looking at his phone. His driver watches traffic ahead. In the back, the wife stares out the window. None of them look at the motorcycle. Why would they? Motorcycles are everywhere. This is Tehran. What none of them know is that death is now 3 meters away. The motorcycle pulls alongside. The movement is smooth, natural, just squeezing through the gap between lanes like every other bike does. The passenger reaches into the case. His fingers close around the bomb. Heavy, cold metal, magnetic surface facing outward. He lifts it free. The motion is practiced. No fumbling, no hesitation. His arm extends toward the Peugeot's driver's side door. The magnet makes contact. Click. The sound is tiny, insignificant, lost in the ambient noise of traffic and engines and horns. The bomb clings to the door. The passenger pulls his hand back. The motorcycle accelerates. Smooth, not panicked, just moving with traffic flow. 10 meters, 20, 30. Roshan is still looking at his phone. The driver is watching the car ahead. The wife adjusts her headscarf. Normal movements, normal morning. They have no idea that an explosive device is now attached to their vehicle. No idea that the timer is counting down. No idea that they have seconds left. The passenger reaches for the remote trigger in his jacket pocket. His thumb finds the button. The motorcycle is 40 meters away now. 50. Enough distance. The rider knows. The passenger knows. They've calculated the safe standoff range. They've tested it. Now they execute. The thumb presses down. The explosion is focused, directional. The shaped charge does exactly what it's designed to do. It concentrates blast energy into a narrow cone aimed at the driver's seat. The door disintegrates. Metal becomes shrapnel. The explosive gases punch through the interior. The driver takes the full force. His body doesn't so much die as cease to exist in any recognizable form. Roshan is sitting 18 inches away. The blast wave hits him with overpressure that ruptures his lungs. Shrapnel tears through his torso. Fire engulfs the front seats. He might survive for seconds, maybe less. Consciousness probably leaves before pain fully registers. The wife in the back seat is thrown forward by the blast. The seat in front of her collapses. She's injured, burns, lacerations. But the shaped charge directed energy away from her position. She'll survive, traumatized, damaged, but alive. The Peugeot lurches to a stop. Smoke pours from the shattered windows. Flames lick at the interior. Other cars brake hard. Horns blare. People start screaming. Pedestrians run toward the car, run away from the car. Chaos erupts. The motorcycle is already gone, disappeared into traffic that's now scattering in all directions. The escape route was planned as carefully as the attack. The motorcycle turns down a side street 2 blocks away. Then another turn. And another. Following a predetermined path that avoids major intersections where police might respond quickly. The rider knows which streets have cameras, which ones don't. He avoids the ones that do. 3 blocks from the attack site, they pull into an underground parking garage, prearranged. The attendant is gone, stepped away for tea at precisely this time. How convenient. The 2 men dismount. They strip off the jackets, remove the helmets. Underneath, they're wearing different colored shirts. The helmets go into bags. The motorcycle stays where it is. It's stolen. Reported missing 3 weeks ago. The license plates are false. There's nothing about the bike that connects to them. They walk out of the garage separately. Different exits. The rider heads west. The passenger heads east. They'll never see each other again. This is good tradecraft. You don't keep connections that can be traced. Within 4 minutes of the explosion, Tehran police are responding. Ambulances arrive. Fire crews battle the flames. Roshan is clearly dead. The driver is dead. The wife is rushed to the hospital. Investigators swarm the scene. They photograph. They collect fragments. They interview witnesses. No one saw anything useful. A motorcycle, yes. But which motorcycle? There were dozens. Helmets obscured the faces. The bike disappeared into traffic. Iranian security services arrive. Revolutionary Guard intelligence. They take over the investigation. They know immediately what this is. Another assassination. The fourth successful strike. The pattern is unmistakable. They seal the area. They confiscate security footage from nearby shops. They start compiling lists of every motorcycle in the vicinity that morning, hundreds of them, thousands if they expand the radius. But there's a problem. The operation was designed to exploit chaos. Tehran traffic is perfect cover because it's already anarchic. Motorcycles weave everywhere. They don't follow rules. They use sidewalks. They split lanes. They disappear down alleys. Tracking a single bike through that chaos is nearly impossible, especially when the bike was chosen specifically because it's common, especially when the riders knew exactly where cameras were positioned. The investigation will go nowhere. It always does. What Iranian intelligence doesn't realize is how deep the surveillance network runs. The woman at the bus stop, she left before the explosion. She's now in a shop 2 kilometers away, buying groceries, looking like every other housewife in Tehran. The man in the parked car, he drove away 30 seconds before the blast. Normal timing, nothing suspicious. He's now at his office, where he actually works, where he has legitimate employment. The tea shop watcher, he paid his bill and left. He's disappeared into the city's 8 million people. The motorcycle rider surfaces 3 days later, at his regular job, auto mechanic. He's been working there 2 years. His boss vouches for him. His co-workers know him. He was at work that Wednesday morning, they remember. He arrived at 7:15, early as always. How could he be the assassin? Except he wasn't at work at 7:15. His co-workers are lying. Or they genuinely remember wrong. Human memory is flexible. Or maybe they're part of the network too. Maybe the entire repair shop is a front. Investigators won't know. Can't know. The trail is too cold. The passenger? He's gone. Left Iran 2 days after the operation. Crossed into Iraq through Kurdistan. Kurdish border guards barely. Glanced at his documents. He's already in Turkey by the time Iranian intelligence starts seriously hunting for foreign operatives. And his documents were perfect anyway, forged by experts, backstopped with legends that would survive scrutiny. He could be in Tel Aviv now, or still in Turkey, or somewhere else entirely. The world is large. Disappearing is easy if you're trained. What breaks Iranian scientists isn't just the deaths. It's the precision, the fact that these attacks happen despite heavy security, despite surveillance, despite investigations. The killers come and go like ghosts. They strike with perfect timing. They know things they shouldn't know. Routes, schedules, vulnerabilities. This suggests deep intelligence penetration. This suggests the network is bigger than anyone wants to admit. Some scientists request immediate resignations after Roshan's death. They cite health reasons, family concerns, academic opportunities abroad. Iran's nuclear program faces a brain drain, not massive, but significant. Enough to slow progress, enough to create gaps in expertise. This is part of the goal. Kill a few, terrify the rest, make the program less efficient, buy time. Time for sanctions to work, time for diplomacy, time for the nuclear facilities themselves to be targeted if necessary. But there's another dimension to these operations that most analysts miss. The assassinations serve multiple purposes. Yes, they eliminate key personnel. Yes, they create fear, but they also force Iran to divert resources. Every scientist now requires bodyguards. Security details cost money. They require personnel. Iran has to pull security officers from other duties, has to spend budget on protection instead of centrifuges, has to build secure transportation systems, has to harden facilities. All of this slows the program. All of this costs money that Iran, under heavy sanctions, can barely afford. The operations also send signals. To Iran's leadership, the message is clear. We can reach your most protected assets. To Iran's scientists, the message is personal. Your work makes you a target. To the international community, the message is more complex. Someone is doing something about Iran's nuclear program. Military action might not be necessary. Give the covert campaigns time to work. Israel never officially confirms involvement. Neither does any other intelligence service. But the hints are there. Israeli officials make carefully worded statements. They talk about Iran's nuclear program being set back. They mention technical problems at enrichment facilities. They note that key scientists are dying or leaving. They don't claim credit, but they don't exactly deny it either. The deniability is strategic. If Israel admitted to the assassinations, it would force Iran to respond openly. It would escalate. It might trigger war. But if there's doubt, if attribution is unclear, Iran can't respond proportionally without looking paranoid or aggressive. It's a psychological operation as much as a kinetic one. Keep the enemy guessing. Keep them paranoid. Keep them looking over their shoulders. But the operations carry risks. Real ones. Every assassination is a roll of the dice. The motorcycle teams could be caught. The surveillance network could be exposed. Iranian counterintelligence could get lucky. A captured operative could talk. Even well-trained agents break under torture. The whole network could unravel. And if it did, if Iran captured Mossad officers operating inside Tehran, the diplomatic fallout would be catastrophic. There's also the moral dimension. These are assassinations, state-sponsored killings. The targets are scientists, not soldiers. They're civilians by some definitions. They have wives, children, families. The bombs kill drivers who are just doing their jobs. They injure bystanders. They terrorize neighborhoods. The operations exist in a gray zone of international law. Targeted killings are legal if the target poses an imminent threat. But do nuclear scientists count? They're building weapons that might be used someday. Maybe. The legal arguments are complex, the ethical arguments more so. Israel's position is that Iran's nuclear program is an existential threat, that Tehran's leadership has called for Israel's destruction, that nuclear weapons in their hands would make another Holocaust possible. That prevention justifies extreme measures, that killing a few scientists to prevent nuclear war is tragic, but necessary mathematics, cold calculus, unpleasant but rational. Iran's position is that these are acts of terrorism, that scientists are civilians protected under international law, that Israel is committing murder on Iranian soil, that these operations violate sovereignty, that the assassinations are designed to deny Iran technology it has every right to develop, that Israel is the aggressor here, that resistance is justified. Both positions have internal logic. Both are self-serving. The truth is probably somewhere in the murky middle where most intelligence operations live. Necessary evils, lesser of bad options. Actions that make sense in the moment but might look different in history's judgment. The assassinations continue sporadically through 2012, but after Roshan's death, something changes. Iranian security adapts. Scientists travel in convoys now, varied routes, armored vehicles. Some are moved to military bases full-time. The low-hanging fruit is gone. The easy targets are protected. The motorcycle method becomes too risky. Success probability drops. The focus shifts. Instead of killing scientists, the operations target facilities. Stuxnet, the computer worm, has already ravaged centrifuges at Natanz. Mysterious explosions start occurring at military research centers. A blast at a missile facility kills a Revolutionary Guard general and 16 technicians. Officially, it's an accident. Unofficially, everyone suspects sabotage. Equipment failures plague enrichment sites, power outages, computer glitches, technical problems that seem to occur at convenient times. The invisible war continues, just with different tactics. The assassinations proved effective but limited. You can only kill so many scientists before the method stops working. So the strategy evolves. Sabotage, cyber attacks, economic pressure, a multi-pronged campaign designed to slow, frustrate, and complicate Iran's nuclear ambitions without triggering open war. But the motorcycle assassinations remain the most dramatic, the most personal, the most psychologically effective, because they demonstrated something terrifying to Iran's nuclear establishment. That nowhere is truly safe. That expertise makes you vulnerable. That dedication to the program might cost you your life. Those scientists driving through Tehran traffic, checking their mirrors nervously, flinching at motorcycles, that fear is the real weapon. The actual killings are secondary to the climate of paranoia they create, and that network that made it all possible. It's still there. Dormant maybe, but there, waiting for activation. Ready to support the next operation when the time comes. Because intelligence networks don't disband. They go to sleep. They maintain themselves quietly. They wait. And when needed, they wake up and go to work again. The woman who watched from the bus stop, She still lives in Tehran, still has her cover job, still reports to her handlers through encrypted channels. The mechanic who rode the motorcycle, still fixing cars, still embedded in the city's fabric. The safe houses still exist. The false document pipelines still function. The surveillance protocols still operate. Just quieter now, more careful, waiting. The aftermath of the assassination campaign extends far beyond the bodies. Iran's nuclear program doesn't stop, but it slows measurably, documented by intelligence agencies tracking centrifuge installation rates. The pace of uranium enrichment drops, not dramatically, not enough to declare victory, but enough to matter, enough to buy time. The delay comes from multiple factors. Fear is one. Scientists work more cautiously when they know expertise makes them targets. Some refuse assignments to sensitive facilities. Others negotiate for better security before accepting positions. The bureaucracy of protection slows everything down. Clearances take longer. Movement becomes more complex. Simple meetings require coordination of security details. But there's a deeper impact that takes longer to materialize. The next generation of scientists, university students watching their professors get assassinated, young physicists seeing what happens to the best minds in their field. Some still choose nuclear work, patriotism, ideology, ambition, but others shift to different specializations, safer research, less visible work. The talent pipeline doesn't dry up completely. It just becomes less robust, less enthusiastic. Iranian authorities try to spin the assassinations as martyrdom, state funerals, heroic narratives. Roshan becomes a national hero. His face appears on murals, his name on scholarships. The regime needs these men to be symbols, proof that Iranian scientists make noble sacrifices for the nation's advancement, proof that foreign enemies fear Iran's growing power. But symbols don't enrich uranium. Dead scientists don't solve technical problems. And fear doesn't disappear because the government declares someone a martyr. The investigation into Roshan's death eventually concludes what every previous investigation concluded: foreign intelligence services, likely Israeli, possibly with American support, or at minimum American intelligence sharing. The evidence is circumstantial, but the pattern is unmistakable. The sophistication, the precision, the timing. This is state-level work, not terrorist cells, not lone actors. An organized campaign with substantial resources behind it. Iran retaliates, not openly, not militarily, but through proxies. Attacks on Israeli targets abroad increase. A bombing in Bangkok targets Israeli diplomats but kills the bomber instead. An attempted attack in Georgia fails. A successful bombing in Bulgaria kills 5 Israeli tourists and a Bulgarian bus driver. These operations are sloppier than the Tehran assassinations, less precise, more collateral damage. They prove Iran can strike back, but they also prove Iran's capabilities are different, blunter, less surgical. The contrast matters. Israel's operations inside Iran demonstrate technical superiority, deep intelligence penetration, sophisticated networks. Iran's retaliatory attacks demonstrate reach, but not precision. The message isn't lost on regional players or international observers. One intelligence service is operating at a different level than the other. Meanwhile, the nuclear program continues, slower but continuing. By 2013, Iran has enough low-enriched uranium that further enrichment could produce weapons-grade material. The enrichment level rises, 5% becomes 20%. The technical gaps close. The timeline shortens. The assassinations bought time, but they didn't stop the program. Maybe they were never meant to. The operations exist within a larger strategy. Sanctions, diplomatic pressure, cyber sabotage, military threats, targeted killings, all pieces of a coordinated campaign to slow Iran's progress while negotiations continue. The goal isn't necessarily to stop the program entirely. The goal is to make it costly enough that Iran eventually agrees to limitations, to make the price of nuclear weapons higher than the benefit. In 2015, the Iran nuclear deal emerges, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Iran agrees to limitations on enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. The deal is controversial. Israel opposes it. Conservative American politicians oppose it, but it happens. Iran's nuclear program becomes constrained, monitored, less threatening for a while. The question analysts debate is how much the assassination campaign contributed to that outcome. Did killing scientists make Iran more willing to negotiate? Did it demonstrate that the costs of pursuing weapons were too high? Or did it simply make Iran more determined while the real pressure came from economic sanctions? The answer is probably all of the above. Covert action rarely succeeds alone. It works when combined with other pressures. Economic pain, diplomatic isolation, military threats. The assassinations were one tool among many, but they were a powerful tool because they were personal, because they created fear, because they demonstrated reach. The network that enabled the operations remains one of the great intelligence mysteries. How did Israel build such extensive capabilities inside one of the world's most surveillance-intensive states? The answer is patience, years of work, enormous investment, recruiting the right people, building the right covers, creating layers of redundancy so no single failure collapses everything. Some of the network was probably Iranian dissidents, people who opposed the regime for their own reasons, ethnic minorities facing discrimination, secular Iranians chafing under religious rule, former officials who defected. These people didn't need to love Israel. They just needed to hate the Iranian government more, the enemy of my enemy. Other parts of the network were likely false flag operations, agents posing as representatives of other countries or organizations, someone approaching a potential asset, claiming to work for British intelligence or the French, making the recruitment less ideologically complicated, less about Israel versus Iran, and more about broader international interests. And some of the network was purely mercenary, people who did the work for money, who didn't care about politics or ideology, who saw an opportunity for payment and took it. Intelligence services use these people carefully. They're unreliable long-term, but for specific operations, they're useful. A motorcycle rider who knows Tehran's streets doesn't need to understand geopolitics. He just needs to know where to go and what to do. The network's survival after the operations is its own form of success. The fact that Iranian counterintelligence never rolled it up, never caught anyone significant, never exposed the structure, this suggests either exceptional operational security or Iranian penetration that wasn't as deep as they believed, or both. There's a darker possibility that analysts sometimes whisper about, that Iranian intelligence actually did identify parts of the network but chose not to act immediately, that they watched and waited, hoping to map the entire structure before rolling it up, that they were playing a longer game. But then the operations stopped. The targets became too hard. The method became too risky. So, Iranian intelligence was left holding partial information about a network that had already gone dormant. The motorcycle method itself entered intelligence textbooks, not the classified ones. Those stay locked away. But in the academic literature about targeted killings and covert operations. The method demonstrated that low-tech approaches could succeed where high-tech methods might fail, that simplicity had advantages, that operations didn't need to be complex to be effective. Other intelligence services studied the technique, adapted it. Variations appeared in other conflicts, a targeted killing in Damascus, an assassination in Beirut. The method spreads, it becomes part of the repertoire. But none of the subsequent operations matched the precision of the Tehran assassinations. None demonstrated the same level of intelligence integration and operational security. The scientists who died became footnotes in the larger story of Iran's nuclear program. Their names are known to specialists. Their obituaries exist in archives, but the broader public forgets. This is the nature of covert war. The casualties don't get monuments. They get classified files and academic papers. They become data points in analyses of counterproliferation effectiveness. But for the families, the impact is permanent. Roshan's wife survived the blast that killed him. She lives with those memories. The sound of the explosion. The moment everything changed. The children who grew up without fathers. The siblings who lost brothers. The personal tragedies that exist behind the strategic calculations. This is the human cost of intelligence operations. It's easy to discuss targeted killings in abstract terms, neutralizing threats, degrading capabilities, strategic impacts. Harder to acknowledge that real people die, that families suffer, that the precision of a shaped charge doesn't eliminate the messiness of death. Israel's position remains that these operations prevented something worse, that nuclear weapons in Iran's hands would threaten millions of Israeli lives, that preventing another potential genocide justifies extreme measures, that the moral calculation favors action over inaction, that dead scientists now prevent dead civilians later. Iran's position remains that these were criminal acts, terrorism by another name, that sovereignty was violated, that international law was broken, that Israel is the aggressor and Iran the victim. Both narratives serve political purposes. Both contain elements of truth. The reality exists somewhere in the space between them, in the gray zone where intelligence services operate, where actions are justified by threat assessments that might be accurate or might be inflated, where prevention looks wise if the threat materializes and paranoid if it doesn't. The motorcycle assassinations ended not because of moral reservations, but because of practical limitations. The method stopped working, targets adapted, security improved, risk increased, success probability dropped below acceptable thresholds. So, the operations stopped, not forever necessarily, but for now. Until the next opportunity, until targets become vulnerable again, until the calculus shifts back toward action. This is how covert campaigns work. They pulse, periods of activity followed by dormancy. The network stays in place, ready to activate when needed, when opportunities arise, when threats emerge that demand response. The machinery of targeted killing doesn't dismantle, it just waits. The broader lesson from the operation is about intelligence capabilities in the modern world, that sophisticated services can operate inside hostile territory for extended periods, that networks can be built patiently over years, that when activated, they can execute with precision that state security services struggle to prevent, that the advantage goes to the side with better intelligence, better patience, and better operational security. The Tehran assassinations demonstrated these principles. They showed that even a paranoid surveillance state could be penetrated, that protection could be defeated, that expertise and preparation overcame security measures. They weren't perfect operations. Roshan's wife was injured. Drivers died who were just employees. But by the cold standards of intelligence work, they were successful. Targets eliminated. Operatives escaped. Network preserved. This was precision violence deployed for strategic effect. It bought time. It created fear. It complicated Iran's nuclear ambitions. Whether it was justified depends on where you stand. Whether it was effective depends on what you're measuring. Whether it will happen again depends on factors that remain classified. But the motorcycles still weave through Tehran traffic every morning, thousands of them, anonymous, routine. And somewhere in that flow of metal and exhaust, the possibility exists, the network waiting. The capability maintained, the option preserved for the moment when it's needed again. If this exposed the invisible machinery of covert warfare, subscribe for the next operation that rewrote the rules. One final question for the comments. In an age where nations can barely agree on climate change or trade, should intelligence services operate across borders to stop nuclear proliferation? Or does that create a dangerous precedent where any country can justify assassination on foreign soil? Drop your perspective below.